All right, hello. All right, I'm going to do a little SEO video on how I look at sites, um, really to show people the basics of what's important and what to look for and how you can look for these things too. So, I like using the Moz website. They used to be an SEO company, now they're more than that apparently. Um, but their on-page SEO is usually done well, so there won't be any surprises. Um, and on page means what's in their source code, what's on the page. So this doesn't have to do with getting links or anything like that. So let's take a look around. The first thing I always do is I view the source and I look at their title tag. Now this is me being like a robot. The first thing I make sure is I do a little search for title and the title tag specifically. And oh, interesting. Huh, this is one of the first times I've ever seen this. Usually there's only one of these tags around, but I guess whatever this thing is, it's probably okay. Generally, you only see it up here, which is where it should be. I'm not really sure what that other stuff is, but I don't think it matters. So this is usually the most important tag on any website, especially on the homepage. These are where the important keywords that show up in search engines come into play. So they obviously want to rank for SEO software and tools and resources. So the homepage title tag is really going to let the search engines know what the whole site's about. So this is where you want to focus. You generally don't want to like put a ton of different words in here to try to like rank for everything possible. You want to keep it pretty focused. You can make other web pages to rank for other things that you do, but the main thing that you are and that you're going after should be in this title tag. I also look at the meta description tag, and this is just a little bit of free advertising search engines usually give you. This shows up in the search results. So backed by interesting leading data and the largest community of SEOs on the planet, Moz builds tools that make inbound marketing easy. Start your free trial today. Okay. And there's only one of them. You don't want to have more than one. That would confuse the search engines. That's why also the title tag, I'm looking just for one. If there were two title tags by accident, the search engine would probably be like, okay, well, which one do you want, right? So that's why you only have one. You want to have one. All right, the next thing I look for on the homepage is the H1 tag. It's just a heading tag. It's not super important, but it does. I think it gives you a little bit of a boost sometimes. And Moz does a good job of only having one. A lot of sites have a problem with this. They'll either not have an H1 on their homepage or on the other pages, or they'll have many H1s. So it's good to just have one main H1. It's usually just your main like slogan, heading, value proposition, products to power your online visibility. All right, so some people would say, you might want to have a little bit more juicier keywords in here. Not, if it happens, it happens, right? If your main page heading is going to have a nice keyword, you've lucked out. If not, no big deal. You kind of don't want to try to force it if you don't have to. Okay, good. So they have one H1 and no more. Let's just see how they're doing. H2s are obviously the next thing. It's another type of heading. They have three. H2s probably make more sense on a blog post, so not a huge deal. But obviously you'd want to go from H1 to H2 to H3, and each heading would be so H2 would probably be a smaller heading, H3 would be a smaller size heading. And keywords can help here too, if they work, if they make sense. All right, let's look at the canonical tag too. This is another really important one in my opinion. This one actually, it can save you a lot of headache. Okay, so the canonical tag says, if for any reason There's more variations of this homepage with different URLs, but they're basically the same homepage. This is the one that you should pay attention to in Google. Moz.com, obviously. So an interesting thing would be like, say like you had pages with UTM parameters. UTM parameters are tracking code you can append to the end of a URL. So in a sense, you have multiple URLs with the same content, and that's called a duplicate content issue. So then Google or the search engines can say, well, I don't know which one of these URLs is more important than the others, and they're all about the same thing, and it could possibly cause problems. Well, this little tag lets the search engine know, like, well, Google, this is the only one you need to pay attention to. So you kind of want to keep an eye on these to make sure that they match the URL that you're looking at them on. And if you notice any URLs that are duplicates of themselves, there's funny stuff at the end of the URL, make sure that your canonical tag actually shows the original. And it doesn't show anything with weird stuff at the end of it or the duplicate URL. Right? This should solve the problem. Reach out to me if you don't understand that. I could probably give you a better example. Well, let's say, for example, let's just move on to another page. Let's go to their blog, and then let's go to this article. All right, so here we have a pretty long URL, and if we look at the search code or the source code, and we look at the canonical tag, we can see that this matches. Okay, now let's say that they had a UTM parameter on it, and I forget how. Well, I think you could just do something like this, like UTM equals blah. See what happens if I do that. Okay, so again, it's the same page, but now we actually have a new URL. So we have two URLs here with the same content. So let's look at the source code of this URL. All right, notice that it didn't put question mark UTM equal blah at the end of this URL, so that it's telling the search engine this is the URL you need to pay attention to. Ignore anything else. Anything with a question mark on it, that doesn't count. We want you to focus on this one. So that's why that's such an important little tag, especially with content management systems or anything that has the ability to produce web pages or URLs automatically or generate stuff. That's why you want the canonical tags. It can really keep it under control. Another thing is, let's go back to the home page real quick. One thing I like to look at is how much actual textual content is on the homepage. One thing I'm seeing these days is a lot of sites, because of mobile, they're really simplifying their homepages, and there's a good reason to do that. Obviously, more words is more clutter. It's harder to get people to take the calls to actions that you want them to do. But on the other hand, there isn't as much information for the search engine to munch on to really find out what your homepage is about. Because remember, the homepage is the most important page generally. Moz does a decent job of having, there's a good amount of text on this page, and I think Moz probably doesn't really need as much help from the search engines actually, but I think they have a good idea of what Moz does. Now, if we go back to good old SEO Book, this is another SEO website. You can see he has quite a bit of content on his homepage, and he has a lot of text links, and there's a lot of stuff for the search engines to work with here. This is actually very interesting to me. He still has a lot of text links on his homepage, linking directly into, deep content. I think it's always a good idea if you can do it. This isn't the layout here and the aesthetics. There's no minimalism going on here. There's a lot of information because he's, I think he's really into getting the SEO value out of it. So I don't know how he's doing on conversion. I don't know if he cares, but that's kind of the thing that you're always balancing. Again, less text, less stuff. Chances are you have higher conversion on specific calls to action you want. Say like join or take tour or subscribe now. See, there's a lot of calls to action. That's generally a bad thing. But if with less text and less information, the chances of someone clicking on, like, say, this button, there's a higher chance it's going to happen. But then also the search engines don't have as much information to work with if there isn't as much text. Okay, hopefully I beat that one to death for you. The other thing I like to do is I like to just see how the redirects work. So look, they have a secure website. Let's make it unsecure and see what happens. Okay, it redirects back to HTTPS. That's good. It's a good sign. What happens if we do index.php? It redirects back to the original URL. That's good. What happens if we take out the S and then do index.php? Goes back. All right, so the redirects are perfect. A lot of sites have a problem with that. And that every single one of those instances is effectively a duplicate content problem. Of course, your canonical tag can solve that if it's set up right, but sometimes even your canonical tag doesn't behave correctly, and it's reflecting the URL you don't want it to. All right, so that's a good check. Then the last thing I do is I just kind of look around other pages. Another thing, the only thing you really want to check out all your URLs. You want to take an inventory of all your URLs and kind of do an analysis to see, like, okay, are we duplicating title tags? No, this is definitely a different title tag. How about the meta description? At miles we're making a web place. I'm pretty sure that's different than the home page. And so you go around to different pages and you make sure that you're not repeating that stuff. Like every page should have different title tag, different meta description, different headings. Okay, so those are the basic. This is so you can do a basic analysis of a site to see if, okay, how's the SEO doing? Does it make sense? Are there any problems? Do we have the keywords that we want to show up for on the right pages? That's it. It's all you need is a web browser and be able to view the source. Let me know if you have any questions, and perhaps I'll do a more advanced video later on. Thank you.